We are coming up soon with Mr. Nang, and until we are coming, I will play a little video and stay tuned for an amazing conversation with an amazing person already in the studio. See you very soon with Mr. Nang. All right, here we are with Mr. Ang from Sungaiwang Plaza. He has been an amazing supporter for us and the Global Empowerment Hub and our community for the last year. And I am so happy to welcome him in the studio. Hi, Mr. Ang, how are you today?
Yeah, good. Good afternoon. You must be busy the whole day with all this program.
Yes, we have 30 interviews this weekend, and this is the third weekend. So I already conducted around 100 interviews and 6 panel discussions and a lot of master classes. So it's amazing 3 weeks, and we still have 3 more weeks to go. So it's just amazing. Thank you for asking. So here we are with you today, but I want the people to get to know you because you are doing amazing things here in Malaysia and Kuala Lumpur, and you have an amazing approach to leadership, which I would like the people to know about. And for the start of it, as we are warming up and getting more people in the front of the cameras, introduce yourself a little bit. We would like to know more about Mr. Ang, not just like the chairman of Sungaiwang, but the person behind all this.
Yeah, I've been in this mall management for the last 6 years. I would say it's quite new. It's actually new to me because even though I've been in the retail industry for the last 33 years, I think with a mall that is in the city center, where you get tourists, you get all walks of life. It's also a very unique location where we actually host a lot of social activities, communities activities, which is something that we have been building on these 2 years. We have focused a lot on cultural events that that is something that is a bit different from the past. We felt being one of the oldest comprehensive shopping malls in the country, with a 45-year history, we do have a legacy to uphold. So we have been working very hard in this area, and we believe that other than community work, other than social work, to present the local cultures through a very different platform is also the avenue to preserve our cultures.
I love the approach, and I remember we got to know each other through a batik competition that I have been invited to take part as a jury in, and it just was an amazing experience because it's very rare that malls are actually taking a part of in preserving the culture, in showing people the traditions, in bringing people back in times and trying out new things that was normal in before, like getting into handicrafts and batik and all these approaches. It's something that was with us back in the past, but it has been changed because of the busy lifestyle that we are living in. And what was the first idea? Why did you want it to change? Because I have been in the Sungaiwang Plaza many times, and it, as you said, it has been the oldest plaza, and it has been always there. But what made you change? What made you fight for it to change the approach and to bring it closer to the people?
Because of the location of the mall, and we get a lot more free and easy tourists, that they actually travels on their own with um, with Airbnb. It's not the usual conventional tour bus package. So these are the type of tourists that you find around where our mall is, and uh, that gives us a natural platform to engage on the cultural side. But for us, it's not just about selling a product, a cultural product, a handcrafts. It's We are also looking into the viability of the business. We believe that if this is commercially viable, then people can make a living out of it. Then it makes uh, the preserving of this culture sustainable on its own. I mean, this artisan should not be living out of handouts. Yeah. And the value of what they have created is tremendous, is valuable. But how do you make it commercially viable? I think that is the most important part.
Does
And
it play a big part that you are coming from the educational background and you see that once you empower them and teach them to how to make business, it can empower them too? Is it that what is moving you in the background?
um, that's part of the background. I have 10 years in education, but also the tradition of the mall. The mall has always been a cradle for many uh, local startups, even 40 years ago. Yeah. At those days, a startup are not tech startup, but a lot of brick and mortar companies. So we are like an incubator. A lot of chain stores started their first shop in Sumawang. So we want to continue that legacy, and we want to expand it in such a way whereby it's not just the brick and mortar, but also uh, the art and crafts, that we believe it can be developed into something uh, commercially viable. And we do have the location for this. It's a bit unfortunate. There's 3 years we don't get too much of a tourist, but it also gave us time to look deeper into our plan, to try out on some of our concepts, uh, to get ourselves prepared before the full stream of tourists start coming in to Kuala Lumpur.
And I think we are arriving to the topic of today discussion, which you were proposing for today, to transform to fit, moving with trends, how important it is. Can you tell us a little bit about this more, a little bit? Why did you choose this title and how is it related to your work and your leadership?
Well, Sumaiwang has always, for the last 45 years, it has always adapt to a new environment, adapt to a new crowd, a different shopping experience, um, and you only when you adapt, you fit into that era, right? And that's the only way to survive. Because we always say survival of the fittest. That's the Darwin theory. We never say survival of the strongest. Yeah, if survival is the strongest, then dinosaurs will still be around.
Love this analogy.
So to fit in is very important. If you are going to be in a very cold environment, you need to be able to fit into that cold environment. So to me, personally, I've always said, I always believe in to fit in is very important. The socio-economic environment that we are in, we need to fit in. When we fit in, is what we also means is that you have to cater to what market demands, basically. I mean, from a business graduate, I had a degree in marketing and a master's in finance. Uh, so that basically, we're talking about market, right? So you have to fit into the market. That's how the whole concept comes in. And today, it's unprecedented that it's not only we have more malls than 10 years ago, 20 years ago. The competition is even more intense with newly built malls having new features that we can't retrofit. Yeah, we can do certain things. We can renovate, but there's certain things we can't because we are structurally of 40 years ago. But we can adapt. We can adapt. We can be uh, who we can be. Yeah, we can't be who somebody else is, but we can be and we can strengthen ourselves. So that part is, I think, it's very important. Certain things, whatever we can do, we must be doing it. But what to do, you really have to look into the current social environment and predict what would it be within the next 5 years. Uh,
So great points of
you
looking
need to
outwards, right?
change to fit in, basically. Yeah, it's
Great point.
just so simple. I mean, to me, it's just so straightforward. I mean,
super points. And I think that was something like, okay, don't offer like yellow trousers to some customers who want pink ones or red ones, like very simple example, but you have to really serve the customers who are around you and who are around the community or the building or in the city or in the global environment. And it's so important because they have the power, and more we are coming forward to other generations. The new generations really keep themselves the right to cut out brands 100% if they are not if they don't want to follow them because they see that they are not moving with the trends, or they are not serving sustainability, or if they are not catering their needs. So it's an important thing to do, to go with the trends and move and develop and innovate. So what are the plans that you have in regards of innovation for Sungei-Wang? Because there's so many things happening already in the last few years. I have been visiting Sungei-Wang many times, and it has been going through tremendous transformation. So please, guys, if you haven't been there in Kuala Lumpur, the Sungei-Wang Plaza, visit it, because it's an amazing experience. You can see the change. So what's the plan? What's your plan in the future, in the upcoming few years for Sungei-Wang?
We are well on the way, actually. I would say it's on track to what we want to develop. We're moving away from being a so-called shopping mall, a product-based shopping mall, but towards an experience-based mall. So it's an experience-based activity center. We have added like campfire, which is like things like rock climbing. We have miniature worlds that you need hand work, that teaches hand works on mini stitches,
Models, right?
models, and yeah, we have like blaster cars, and we have a major big event space that we can hold concerts. We can have exhibitions. We can have banquets. Also, we have a foreigner that is investing into not just your regular co-working space, but it comes with capsule beds where you can stay overnight, with EV bikes that you can go around the city, electric bikes that you can go around. So we're coming up with a whole new package, and plus we are working with various agencies in the region, where we make it as the first destination when these students arrive for their experience.
I love that you are catering
we build an ecosystem
also.
over. Yeah.
Yes, it's beautiful because it's not just for one generation. It's like Jag was mentioning, one of our viewers, that when she came from Penang to KL in 1978, then Sungai Bang Plaza was a main area in the Bukit Bintang, and it
It's
was the
probably the only one.
happening place. Yes, the only mall to go to, and look around how many, like we say in Hungary, it's like mushrooms just popping up everywhere, all the different malls, and you need to create your own style. You need to create your own unique value proposition that people can come to you and enjoy and experience. And I love that you include different generations. You are bringing in also something futuristic, which is totally fit into your lines, because if you have the capsules, you have tourists. So you have business tourists coming into town, and they can just stay in these capsules and have their meetings, and then they can go again and leave Kuala Lumpur and then come back again. So amazing concepts and beautiful ideas happening here.
Yeah,
So
and they can even take the Ho bus and hop on, hop off, and go for a tour.
yeah, they can visit the city, right, at the same
they
time.
can visit the cities. They can ride on the EV, electric bikes. We build a whole ecosystem out of convenience, where it's
Yeah, it's bringing new things into the society and into chaos life, right?
yeah, I believe these are the facilities that many young people would enjoy. Yeah. And
Yeah, you
it's
also
most
have
of it
a
is
manga or
one of a kind.
anime center, right? Like a whole pop-up shop.
Yes, experiential center. Yeah. We will probably have like yoga classes and stuff like that. Because if people are staying overnight, they want to have something to do, not just going to the bar, but which is available. Yeah, we have a couple of bars coming up, operating. Yeah. But there are also people we have to cater for all walks of interest.
And many pop-up restaurants and many new places. I remember going there, and I was having the most amazing samosa there from one of your vendors, because they were selling it when I had my events. And it was just so nice, because you are empowering also people who are just starting their business, and they are just selling their own products, and giving them the opportunity to show it in a very nice way inside the mall, not out on the streets, right?
Yeah.
That's a beautiful experience. And back to the community building, and back to this the difficulties, right, managing a mall like this as a leader, because we are talking about leadership at the end this weekend. So how would you say, what are the challenges of the vendors, and what are the challenges of you as a leader to manage the vendors, to keep the balance, and to keep them moving and learning and developing?
Well, vendors are a very important element in the mall. Yeah. So sometimes some tenants are not, some vendors, they are not as um, creative as they should have been. But we come in to work with them, or so that we give them ideas how to display, how to create more values out of their whatever they can offer. Sometimes they might not have thought of it. One of the things that we do is we tell them, you don't just sell a product, but you can create a counter whereby your skills can be taught, and you get an income from that by teaching people how to do, instead of some shoppers buying what you have produced, right? So you have a additional revenue stream, for example. And not every tourist buys souvenir, but if it's a souvenir that they pay someone to teach them how to do, they're definitely going to keep it, right? Because it's their work. It's not
Well,
just
So true, sign me up for a kue class if you have one coming up soon, because I really want to learn how to make kuis. That's one of my favorite desserts in Malaysia. So I would love to learn how to do that. Coming back to Sungai Wang and also to you as a leader, I know that you are very careful about your balance in life and family and everything. So how do you make sure that your mental health, your spiritual health, your own personal space is secured? Because I always see you in the mall. You are always working. So how do you make sure you are also relaxing and taking some time for yourself?
Well, I think because I do a lot of I do engage in a lot of social organizations, and even in terms of business, I'm at any one time in multiple industries, running different companies. Uh, what what is very important is you must have a team of people. Yeah. Um, I can't do this whatever that I'm doing if I'm just doing everything alone. So we have to delegate enough. You have to trust your staff enough, your subordinate enough, and if you think they are not good enough, you have to train them. Yeah, you have to. Um, no, nobody comes perfect. Nobody comes fit in to what you want. Right? It's not like buying a shoe. You try different shoes and then you see which one fits and then you take that. I think when it comes to a human being, there's always maybe a 70% feed or 90% feed into your corporate cultures. So training is very important. Communication is very important. So they know what you are looking for, what you want. Giving them time and space to fit in is also important because some people learn faster than others. Yeah. So creating a team of people uh, that is able to implement, that has the same vision, that understands your vision. I think that is very important. So at least by doing that, I can manage my own time. I can still have my private time.
Thank you so much for sharing this with us. And it has been amazing 25 minutes with you. And before we leave off, before we are closing the conversation, can you tell us a little bit what's the next event at Sungai Wang that people can look up to and go to? What are the things coming up in this end of the year? And then I can, just invite people to join you who are visiting KL.
We're having a white Christmas deco for this Christmas event, and we are already planning for the Chinese New Year um, in January. So it's the year of the rabbit. Actually, it doesn't start until the day of the first day of Chinese New Year. The year of the rabbit doesn't start at 1st of January, okay? Because it's that's a lunar calendar, and 1st of January is not a lunar calendar. So, but anyway, we have to be ready before, and with the turnover of
Yes,
of the
let's
two
be
festive
ready.
season being so close. Yes, we are trying very hard to make everything on time.
So a lot of people are saying thank you, Mr. Nang, for all the things that you shared with us, and thank you so much for being here in the studio. Let's get ready for the Year of the Rabbit. Hope it brings a lot of success for Sungai Wang and for you and for your family and all the team that you are curating and supporting. And thank you so much for doing what you do and also for your social work, because without you, those enterprises, those social communities and NGOs, they are less and they cannot do their events. So thank you so much for sharing the space that you have
Oh, thank you
created.
for inviting. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So thank you for being here. See you very soon in person, and hope you will enjoy your weekend with your family.
You too. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye
Thank you
bye,
so
everyone. Bye
much.
bye.
Bye. So we are switching speakers. I see Yuki is already in the studio, and after Mr. Nang was sharing with us a lot of things about community building, the future of Sungaiwang Plaza, and a lot of things and tips and also secrets about amazing leadership, building a team that you can count on. We will talk about something different with Yuki, and Yuki is also someone who I look up to, leading the Malaysia part of the Women in Tech initiative, and I'm really, really interested in the next talk. So let me just bring up Yuki to the stage and we will start another interview. Hi, Yuki. How have you been? How are you today?
Hi, Andrea. Very excited to be here. It was actually an exciting week for me. As always, it's like lots of events, whether it's participating, speaking, and all of that. I'm really honored to be here. I'm so excited. Thank you, Andrea, for doing
I
this.
thank you for making time for us, because I know it's a lot of things that you are involved in. You also had your event. You are managing so many things. You are keeping up a brand that you are kind of ambassador of in this region, and it's a lot of work. I know, next to all the things that you do. So I'm really appreciating that you are here and welcoming you at the stage for the third year of the Global Empowerment Summit. People can see that since I'm sitting here since the morning, the sun is starting to go down and my lighting is changing. So happy to have you with us this late afternoon.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Yuki, so that we can get to know you a little bit better.
Sure. I'll try to summarize it in short because it's not to say complicated. I'm Japanese originally, and same as you, Andrea. I'm based in Malaysia for 20 over years now. And this is our third visit actually in Malaysia. Um, we were a typical expatriate family moving from one place to another because of my father's business. I was born in Japan. We left Japan when I was 11 months old and primarily lived in Southeast Asian countries, I would say. Hong Kong, we have a PR as well, lived in New York, and so on and so forth. And all of us agreed, actually, my whole family, my dad, my two sisters, we are all here working and living. And so this is home. Yeah, and going into a little bit of career talk, industry talk. Well, I had a fair share of different works, but primarily, I think what I love to do is to connect with people, and that's always brought me to what I've been doing. And whatever businesses we are doing, there's always a touch point with people, right? So I do one thing and I move to another thing, and then it's always that I bring that so-called my friends, my business partners, business friends that the network has grown into that data to with me, whatever I do, whatever I did up to date, and primarily in IT. Um, Now we've established our own. I've co-founded a blockchain solution startup, and also in the middle of everything, basically. But I have seen a huge disparity, of course, in terms of building up a career as a woman, and especially so the disparity in quality is heavy on tech side of things, and tech is everything now, right? There's, I mean, smartphone. Who doesn't use smartphone and chat, this and that? And I thought, okay, we have to do something about this disparity. Everywhere I go, I feel so lonely, especially so. I would say in APAC, we're a little bit behind, and female, especially so in Web3, my blockchain arena. I'm always against one of me and then six other speakers who are male. So predominantly that started off with me taking over this nonprofit international organization as Malaysia chapter lead. And that's just started this year. So I'm managing the nonprofit, managing my startup, and I'm also a mother of two Well, fortunately or unfortunately, they're not with me now. They're in the university, so less of that, of taking care of them. But I'm also a yoga instructor, so there are a lot of things I'm doing. Yes.
So many similarities, and I think two of them is that I also love Japan. I love the country. I would love to visit very, very soon, and I really admire the culture and how I have a lot of Japanese friends who I've been to dancing actually here in Kiel, and there's a huge Japanese community doing ballroom dance and Latin dance, and I was visiting them
Absolutely.
very regularly. And also the women and the tech in Malaysia, women in tech in Malaysia, I think that's a big thing, chunk, that we are also on the same path of empowering people. And you choose a beautiful title for today, which is about constructing the pathway to leadership. And I would like to ask you first about that. Why did you choose this title, and what does this title mean to you? Because there are so many understandings behind and a lot of messages behind this title.
Yes, I hope I can finish within this hour or few minutes that we have, but I can go on for months, right, if I want to. But I think the leadership is changing now, right? The title leadership is so changing because of the sustainabilities, and the more I would say that is close to my heart is that it's no top-down approach anymore, that you have to be diverse, you have to be equitable, you have to be considerable about all sorts of people that comes into your network, whether it's your organization, whether it's a corporate culture. Being a leader is it could be community, it could be something small, it could be something big. So for that, I wanted to deconstruct a little bit about the narrative of the leadership currently, and as women, and as being Japanese, which leadership for Japanese women is hard. And that's something that we often talk about. And actually, I'm going to Japan end of the month to attend this conference, and which I'm moderating. And the title is Gender Diversity, Extending Gender Diversity Across Asia. So, I mean, things are changing, but it always goes back to the leadership development, how it is for women, especially in Asia, especially in Japan. So, cultural, it's a complex topic. That's why I wanted to really talk about what we can do at the current I would say current moment to be a leader as a female, as this diverse world, fast-paced world. Tech is on the go, and all the complexity around it.
And I think it's very cultural, right? Because I know that in Japan, especially companies and inheriting the leadership as a woman and being a woman who leads companies or getting on that top level, it's really, really hard, right? To take your step in a family, to step up for against brothers. I think, I mean, even it's like in the culture, I read a lot about this, like, how were you?
Yeah.
Were you meeting with this? Is it also something that is motivating you behind?
Well, I know exactly what you said, the bro culture, or the boys club, or the men's club, or the likes of it. I mean, it is multifaceted problems, and it goes back historically and culturally and all of that, right? So it is, for me, it was a culture shock to actually study in Japan, because I've studied outside of Japan all my life in international school and this and that. So I begged my parents that I wanted to study in university in Japan, and it's kind of the opposite, right? And so I went back, and it was kind of, as a student, it was already like the stigma, the bias was already there, that why are you not doing this, as a Japanese girl. And I'm looking around and going, just a party as well, that girls are pouring drinks for the boys, and like, and I'm enjoying my drinks, and they're looking around like, those type of unconscious bias, so-called, in the current terminology. And they were asking me, why are you not doing anything? Like, well, what do you mean? You can pour your own beer, right? For example, and this kind of conversation would not happen if I was raised in Japan and, predominantly, you don't know what you don't know. And I didn't know that, right? And my friends then, girlfriends, male friends, also didn't know what I didn't know. So, this was a sparkly conversation we had. And that goes all the way. And of course, after graduating, I wanted to work for an international company and so on and so forth. So I didn't stay for, of course, many reasons. But I also had a chance to go back to Japan and work for a public listed British company then, but in Japan. And I was in the management, but you still facing the commonalities, I would say, of the daily culture, and attending to Japanese clients and partners, and reporting to foreign bosses. But at the end of the day, there is a lot of, I would say, touch points with the Japanese culture that kind of slap your face. I was working like 16 hours a day, go home with the last train, go in with the first train as early as I had to wake up at 4 something a.m. And I did it for like almost 3 years. And I said, well, there's really like no work-life balance at all. I'm not really using the work-life balance anymore. I like to use the word work-life integration now.
Yeah.
Much more. Yes, it's and I observe that this is not the case for men, right? So we have to stay back, and then we have to do the same thing probably. But the career development, or it's a taboo topic, right? It's like you're doing the same thing, but where is your promotion? And the negative energy or negative news spreads faster when you are doing a great job. They don't amplify that, but when you do something goes wrong, if it's your team, your manager, everything you have to take the blame for. And so why I'm taking on this challenge as WIT, Women in Tech's Malaysia ambassador, but I'm looping in Japan because, of course, the founder from France is also passionate about having a chapter in Japan, and we know it's one of the most difficult chapter to run, I think. And I'm constantly engaging, hence I'm going to Japan end of the month, and because I'm Japanese. But yes, I want to put pressure, and I'm seeing a little bit of change here and there in Japan. So hopefully, in different dimension of leadership, whether it's corporate, whether it's politics, whether it's government,
So where would you start when you are deconstructing, when you have to redesign something that has been ingrained so much by culture? So what are the first steps that people can do who are maybe in the same situation than you and trying to set up something in a not so nice or supportive environment?
I think community is important, right? It always goes back to that. And where you can pour your hearts out, where you can share your whatever issues, right? So it could be, I think, community to share what your burden is, what you're taking on, to trash out and to reset, to clean your slate, and then go about. I think that's one thing, and especially so for Japanese society, for female leadership, you really need to do that. Not always the case. I hear that they are kind of on a solo journey, and they feel that in the culture also that they don't want to open up sometimes. But this is something that community-driven organization like us, Women in Tech, is also trying to do, to put the female leadership together, or aspired junior managerial level who wants to be in a corporate ladder as well. So finding your community is really important. Networking, I mean, we can't agree, right? That's gold. So I mean, I think people generally, if you ask something, they're happy to help you, no? I mean, in LinkedIn as well, like I'm looking for this, and then you reach out to this. I've seen that you're a subject matter expert of so and so. I'm so and so, and so far I've never had any rejection. Everyone was so welcoming, and of course, by all means, I would love to lend you a help. So I think we should not put ourselves to stop to ask. So networking, asking, mentoring is very important in your own field. But I think it's also important to map what you want to do, what you're good at. And this is also the lovely philosophy that I'm taking it with me, and it's becoming a phenomenon as well. Ikigai, purpose in life, and that goes to work-life integration. That when you wake up in the morning, you don't have to say, I need to do this, but rather, I want to do this. So, and you don't talk about work-life balance anymore, because you're integrating your work, your passion, something you're good at, and something, very importantly, nothing freemium, free is sustainable, right, in our lives. Of course, the degree matters, but you have to put food into your stomach and for your family and all of that. So sustainable model always comes with, you rightfully have to charge for what you're good at, right? So the ask, so all of these and purpose of life, I think work-life integration. But for that to happen, you have to map exactly what you like to do, how you feel to doing certain things, what you are good at. And then to see, I didn't know what I don't know what I don't know, right? Like, so that's really important. And then going to a second opinion, third opinion, and then like maybe then with a community, maybe then with a mentor, you'll find your new path that could maybe change your life.
And for leaders, I think that's an important question here also. So if you're a leader, how can you support an environment which is supportive towards women, or towards putting the programmer or the IT person who is a woman in charge, instead of sticking to men in this field? Because there is a natural hesitation when it comes in IT into choosing people for different positions. If it's about IT, it's about technology. So how can a leader support an environment that helps also women to show them their capabilities?
Yeah, I think that's exactly why we exist. Maybe what you are doing as well, that we can't deny the fact that technology, innovation, all of that is coming to all of us, whether we like it or not. So learning, get on to the game, get into the game, to learn how to use all the apps and all that is incumbent. It's important, and exactly why I'm forming what I'm forming. Our manifesto is classroom to boardroom. So again, coming back to the community, I'm emphasizing on the boardroom, right? Because the senior ladies as well are there. They want to learn about tech. They feel that they're excluded. For whatever reason, they said they're saying that they're learning everything from their children. It's a new generation kind of thing. They want to learn about blockchain. They want to know about metaverse, NFT, Web3, and all of that. And I always get the request to do a workshop, and so again, it's community. Like in different countries, you have different community that drives female leadership in different sectors, and the more board level senior ladies or executive levels. In Malaysia's case, like lead woman, 30% club, those exist in your own capabilities or industry experts and whatnot. So you can find and choose your career goal, so to say, the go-to, and get in there. What it takes for you to get there, and then you can reverse engineer how those ladies get up to where they are at now. And it comes into, of course, for those ladies, aspired ladies who's already there, they also have to become current, right? You always have to stay relevant. And again, relearning, learning, keep going, reskilling. But I think, again, it's the community.
So you are also a little bit relaxing the topic. We were very serious for the most of the part of the conversation, but I want to also relax a little bit because you are also a yoga teacher. I'm also a dancer since I was 6. So there is a common ground here about how people leading their lives, how awareness is important. So what do you think, how exercises like this, doing yoga, meditation, or just even like me dancing, how can these things help leaders to get better, to take care of themselves, to do that work-life integration a little bit better? And welcome to your cat. She wants to say her part.
Yes, I was going to say, sorry, say hello. That's really cookie. Yes, thank you for asking. Yeah, I am always talking about how important it is, to take care of yourself, but we always neglect ourselves, right? We are saying this to ourselves by telling others, and I am cooking for my family and asking my children to like eat and don't neglect your food and this and that. Do your exercise and reminding them, but I'm kind of like the last on the list, and it shouldn't be, right? It's like I neglect my sleep, and it really is. Without your health, without taking care of yourself, things won't move, right? What happens if something were to happen to you? So that's one. And I think by way of taking care of self, of course, has so many different ways, right? Like sleep is definitely important, exercising is important, but again, exercising is not for everyone. So it's like not to fend anybody off. It's like it could be like 5 minutes of stretching, but it proves that, it kind of neurologically, we all know that in the morning, you stretch a little bit, it's already invigorating the frontal part of your brain. And during meditation, it sharpens your brain, you get the clarity, productivity goes up, and it's evident, right? So yeah, that's for me. I try to have a routine. You don't have to strictly follow if you're traveling, if you're at a different place. You don't have to, but I have my own routine. I brush my teeth with my non-dominant hand. They say it stimulates your brain in the morning, right? So all those tricks that you can find that works for you to take care of yourself, I think it's really important, and it works on your, I think, clarity and your efficiency as well, productivity.
And what about women in tech? Like, what did it bring to your life, and what do you think it can bring to the life of the others? What are the things that are so important in this community?
Mm. Okay. First of all, everyone is asking me, why are you doing this? You're already busy as is, and then you're putting another layer to kind of inflicting, yourself. I've had a fair share of high drama in my life. And of course, we come up, what doesn't kill you make you stronger, right? So I really, really wanted to make sure that I love the paid forward model, that I don't want the next generation of ladies in tech that has to go through what I have gone through. A little bit of course, the stats is showing that the gender parity, I have to go in a little bit into the gender diversity space again, gender equality space, and it takes, especially in Asia, East Asia, Japan, and Malaysia is also in the last, South Asia, takes like 100, and Malaysia is 198 on different domains. Overall average global is 130 something. US is the closest to the gender parity, which is 59 years. So, this is crazy numbers of years until we are not trying to outbeat each other. We're not trying to beat each other. We know we are good. All the diversity, we have our own strength, but we don't have the level playing field, right? So I'm doing what I'm doing because I don't want anybody to suffer, and if I can contribute to elevate, eliminate or alleviate a little bit of that, I'm happy. And I just want my community to pay it forward too. If I did this, you can pay it forward, and please impact others as well. And exactly what you're doing, Andrea, here.
And how can people join in the Women in Tech in Malaysia in this area? What are the opportunities? Where can they reach out? And what are the activities that you are doing in the region?
Yes, I mean, we just started as Malaysia 8 months ago, but we have a membership. It's free. You join, and then we have, currently we have 39, 40 countries now. When we join, we opened our chapter in February. It was 23 chapters. So within 8 months, it's almost 40 countries. So we, 5 years ago, we incepted, until now, it was kind of like a startup slow mode, and now we're accelerating. So all of these, when you join as a member, which is free, very often we have like webinars around the world. You can network with people, experts in cybersecurity, AI, all the likes of it, or even digital marketing and all of that, right? It doesn't have to be like tech coding skills or developing skills, or such a hot topic as well. We also have like sometimes a yoga session together as well, and things like that, meditation together and things like that. So it's a membership that you could join. And physically in Malaysia, we do host members gathering. So, and you could join as a speaker if a subject matter expert. Love to have any of tech experts joining us as a speaker. Can be a mentor, a mentee. There's several ways to impact others as well. So yes, education, rolling out programs you can leverage on. We have events we take up with partners. We grow communities around Malaysia with aligned objectives to empower the community, not just the women, but also the underserved, unserved communities. Yeah, that's in a nutshell, I think.
Lovely purpose. And I think at the end of the conversation, I will also just loop it back to your own activities and to your blockchain startup that you are just starting as a woman here in Asia. So tell us a little bit about that before we start this part of the conversation. I mean, we could go on and on and on, but I think we cannot stretch the time too much. But yeah, tell us a little bit about this part, about your startup. How did you start it? What are you focusing on, and why is it so important for you?
Yeah, sure. I was in a banking software when the term fintech was not even existed, right? So anyway, that was what I have been doing for a while, more than a decade, and my co-founder more than 2 decades. And when we heard of blockchain, or he more like when nobody heard about blockchain and we started to investigate research, it was really just when Bitcoin came out with the first, blockchain. I would call it the business case, one of the biggest now. But and then that time in the finance industry, obviously people were so, what do you call, like not buying about blockchain at all. Even now, of course, with securities and this and that, they have a lot of business cases. Of course, if you don't get into the game, you'll be left out. The narrative have shifted. But for us, we thought blockchain is really oh yes, I have to go back to why, because we were also in not just conventional banking, but we were also in Islamic finance. So Islamic finance, if we're talking about sustainable finance, ethical finance, it's a very, very, what do you call, spot on kind of finance. because you are not speculating, you are not going with a bubble, making money model. So it's very complicated. It's very complex. And one misstep, it can go into, we call it the zakat, penalties, and it will be penalized and all of that. So that complex model, we thought, okay, blockchain can use this, right? Because it breaks down every step, and you have, there's so many complex third party going into the ecosystem and all of that. So to cut the long story short, we thought, okay, we are solving a big problem out there, because it's a very big $1 trillion market, so to say, or faith-based. If there is an opportunity, in almost every country there are Muslim population, and it's not just for Muslim population. As I said, ethical financing is gaining traction by speed of light, I would say. So we thought, okay, this is a beautiful business example. We haven't gotten there yet with that product, but we are working on it. This is just one example. And again, this is an underserved market, and we wanted to impact it with blockchain to touch upon those people who were never in the ecosystem.
Love that you are including so many people, and that you are also thinking about niches like Islamic finance, which is something very specific, just as you said, just like in life, just like in the culture, just like in any other part of life. It's something very specific, and it's a specific niche that you really have to deal with care. And there are so many things to change there and to adapt the technology to that. It's a crazy but amazing idea. So I think that's something, great venture that you just stepped into. So congratulations on that, and I wish you a lot of success. And I will be thanking you for being here with me in the studio for this 25 minutes. I personally learned a lot. I really believe that organizations like Women in Tech Malaysia or Women in Tech in general can really help people to not fight for their places, but just be heard and be visible and find a supportive environment where they can not fight with the competition, but generally get a bigger stage and to be heard and let their voices to come forward. So thank you so much for fighting and for advocating for this, Yuki.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you so much for letting me speak. This is so important, as you said, the voice, right? We want more places for these ladies, not just me, but I want to showcase more and more ladies out there.
Exactly. Keep up your passion, and we see each other very soon, and looking forward to collaborate more. And just thank you so much for everything what you do and empowering so many. Keep it up.
Thank you for doing this marathon. Take care of yourself.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So switching speakers in the studio, I see already Rashmi coming and joining the studio in the backstage. So I will just change the different banners so that she can join us and we can start another amazing conversation, the last one for this part of the afternoon. And then we are switching to the night mode, a little bit of break, and we will be coming back for the evening sessions with also amazing speakers from all around the world. And hope you realize that in this day today, we are switching between countries, just like fast-paced with the speed of the internet. And this is the opportunity that digitalization is bringing to us to connect people from all around the world. And if you do it right, then you can really build a very nice, powerful network that you can share with others, and then you can elevate others even in another way that you did before. So with that said, I will bring up Rashmi, and we will start our amazing conversation. So Rashmi, welcome on board.
Thank you so much, Andrea. I don't know how you have the energy. I've had a few meetings this morning and I'm like, oh, how is she so energetic all day long? That's up to you.
For a lot of practice, that's what it takes. I mean, three years of practice being in front of the camera and knowing that if the energy goes down, then the speakers go down. Then I can tell it to anyone organizing events like this. Make sure that your speakers are energized, because it can make or break your events. That's something that I have learned in the last 3 years. So keeping up, drinking a lot of water, walking in between, it helps a lot to keep it up and do these marathons. So Rashmi, it's not about me, it's about you and what you do and everything else. So tell us a little bit more about you and your personal life, just a little bit, so that we can get to know you better, and also about your profession.
Sure. Thank you so much, first of all, for having me on this. It's really an amazing endeavor that you are all doing right now. And I think it's so needed for women out there. And I guess when you ask me about personal life, it's been quite interesting because I started life as an engineer, classic Indian IT profile, worked in an IT company for many years, worked as an consultant in the IT space for many years. And in between, I took a couple of breaks. And each time I took a break, it was because I had my babies, so I wanted to be at home with them. Then I decided, okay, now I want to go back to work, went back to work, then took another break when we moved countries. And I think I'm very, very lucky that at each phase, I took a break and then I went back because I met the right people. And honestly, I met the right women who were willing to give me a chance and say, it doesn't matter if you've not been in the workforce for like 3 years or 5 years, we still believe in you. And I think that's so important because I know the topic for today is about giving space for failure, but honestly, giving space for women to come back, because there are so many talented women out there who sometimes take a break from their work life for whatever reasons, and then they're not able to come back because people are not willing to take that chance. They're not willing to give them that space to try and then maybe succeed, maybe fail. And most of them are so grateful for the opportunity that they really work their hearts out. So for me, that was truly I was truly lucky, and I met really, really empowering women. And I truly believe that as a manager, as a leader, I need to be somebody who empowers not just the women under me, but everybody who works for me, with me, around me. I feel you need to give them space to grow, space to learn, space to succeed. So yeah, that's a little bit about me personally. Professionally, now I work with Leaderonomics Malaysia. We're a leadership development company. We have a lot of clients, not just in Malaysia, but in the Southeast Asian region as well. Have always believed that leadership is the road to having a more harmonious society, to having more successful countries, people, happy people. And when we say leadership, it doesn't just mean, earning profits or having the best stock market pricing. It also means about having the happiest people in your organization, people who are proud to be there, who are motivated, who feel happy going into work every day. And honestly, I've been very lucky because I don't think there's ever a day since I've joined this organization that I wake up and I say, oh, today I don't want to go to work, because I really feel energized by what I do. I really love what I do. I love the people I do it with. So yeah, it's been a good life and a good career. It is a good career, not has been.
And I think this is something amazing, because I got to know Leaderonomics because I was joining one of your events, and I was teaching a little bit about brand building for the students there. And we made a dance mixed with a personal branding session at one of your event days with one of the local schools. And I got to know the team, I got to know Roshan, and I got to know everyone like Andrea, and they all have been already part of this Nikesh, coming back every week. So it's kind of an amazing journey to see Roshan, your leader, fighting for you, being there for you, and also creating this amazing vision. And then it's amazing to see the leaders that actually growing under this umbrella, and then they are also developing every single year. When I see them, it's just amazing culture. I am just hats off to all the culture that you have been created in Leaderonomics.
and we hope that, with everything we do, that we can continue to, spread to more and more. I mean, every time someone, joins Leaderonomics and then they leave, our thing is they're taking the culture somewhere else. And we tell them that, take the values, take the culture, try to spread it to other people, and there's a very interesting story that Hui Ming, who's the co-founder for Leaderonomics, once told me, where she talked about the fact that initially they had started out with young people. So they were working with school kids, college, students. And suddenly they said, you know what, here we are teaching these children about leadership, about having the right ethics, the right skills and competencies, having integrity, having, creating safe spaces for people. But if we don't do that for the corporate world, or for the world where these children are going to go out and work in, then we're leaving half of that equation, incomplete in a sense, because these children are going to learn all these very idealistic, very empowering, ideas, will have all of this in their head. But when they go into a workspace where it is not supported, this kind of beliefs are not supported, or this kind of leadership is not supported, they're going to be extremely disillusioned. So, which is when they actually decided that they need to, start working with corporates as well, start, bringing leadership to not just children and students, but also to leaders at different stages of the leadership journey. And that's where, we come in. And I think that was such a nice idea. I mean, just the thought that we need to do it everywhere. It has to be a holistic sort of a ecosystem that we try to develop. I'm not saying we're doing it everywhere, but as much as we can, as we can influence, we should try to do that. So,
yeah, and it's important, exactly how you said that, okay, we are training the next generation, but at the end, this generation has to go through the gateholders, and the gateholders today are the leaders of today. So if we put them into this environment and those gateholders are not giving them the same treatment, it can break this ecosystem. It can break how they work, and it can again be a fight and the miscommunication between these participants. So amazing approach. I will stop here because we could talk about Leaderonomics, but Nigesh is coming up with Nicole. I am supporting the approach and the initiative for a long time already, and I really love how you work. So one more time, hats off. Thank you for the help, Roshan. If you listen to us, keep on the good work, and all the team who is supporting the ideas. But today we are here with you to speak about managerial styles and giving space for failure, which is something that it's really important today. But I feel also that people are using it as learn from failure, don't be afraid to learn from. It's becoming a marketing kind of approach, which I don't like, because when people start to marketalize or commercialize a phrase, it loses its meaning and it goes into different directions. So what's your take on this? What exactly this sentence, this title mean to you, and how do you feel can we really be authentically giving space for failure?
So I think it's, when we say giving space for failure, we're not saying that we're coddling people. We're not saying that we're going to protect them from everything that happens, or every bad thing that can happen in their work, or in what they do. I think that the idea is, how do you react to failure in an organization, right? So one is, of course, one way is you have to give your people the right tools, right? If you haven't trained them, if you haven't prepared them for what they need to do, they're much more likely to fail. So you have to make sure that, say I'm a senior manager, and every week I meet maybe my managing director, and I have to give a report every single week. One week I go on holiday and I tell my junior, you go give the report. But that junior has never met the MD before, has never presented this report before. They are going to fail. They're not going to be able to answer the questions because they will not know what's expected of them. But if I were to take this junior with me every week into that meeting and say, okay, initially you just sit in and listen, then maybe you take some part of it and you present that. And so you have prepared that person. You've given them the exposure, you've given them the experience. So you always have to give them the right tools and the right environment. Don't throw them in the deep end and expect them to sink or swim, right? You have to prepare them. The other thing I find is that sometimes people are not open to having questions asked of them. So you're a manager, somebody comes to you with a problem, so you're very busy, you have no time. You say, hey, okay, do it this way, and you send them off, right? But you've not helped them. You've just given them the solution. And what you're teaching them is, every time they have a problem, they come to you, and then you say, oh, this is how you solve it. So you're not teaching them to think for themselves. You're not teaching them to ask questions. Maybe if you turn around and ask them questions, you try to maybe a coaching approach. And I know it's hard. I know people have very, very, very busy lives, very busy schedules. Every minute counts. But that few minutes, or that 10 minutes that you might take today, or that half an hour you take today, is going to save you multiple hours in the future, and it's going to help that person. So there's so many different things. Now, when it comes to failure, there are different types of failure, or there are different types of mistakes that happen in organizations. Some would be just careless mistakes. I lost concentration. I was not paying attention to something. I missed something, right? Those are the kind of mistakes you want to say, look, we need to really be careful about not making these kind of mistakes. The other would be mistakes which maybe I have never faced a situation like this before. Maybe I'm somebody from a client servicing, department, and I've run into a client that I have never faced before and who's really difficult, and I just don't know how to work with them. So in cases like that, training, asking them to bring in more support, you give them the tools again to think about what happens if I run into something that I've not faced. What should I be doing? Should I be asking more questions? And sometimes those things failure will happen. Maybe you lose the client because this person just couldn't deal with them. That's when you need to sort of do a post-mortem and understand, but do it in an environment where you still give dignity to the other person, the person who's failed. You don't shout and scream and, create a big ruckus. You have to, of course, it's disappointing, and it's probably your bottom line is going to be affected because you've lost this big client, and it's hard to be calm at such a time. But try to help them learn from that. What could they have done differently? And then see what can you help to, mitigate whatever failure has happened. And the third type is typically when you want them to try something out, maybe in a safer environment, say, let's test this out and let's see if it works or it doesn't work. I remember a long time ago when I was doing my master's and I was doing my research for my thesis, there was something I was trying and it just did not work. And we realized that this is not going to work. And 3 months of work was pretty much, I thought, had gone down the drain. But my advisor at that time said something so good to me. She said, Rashmi, please note, the fact that you've spent this 3 months, what you've done is you've eliminated a series of solutions, what people thought were possible solutions. So now people know that they should not be trying this because it's not going to work. And it's not a failure. You've actually narrowed the set of solutions or the set of options or experiments you need to do. So now, even if you don't succeed, people who come after you know that this doesn't work, so they need to try other things. So failure is also a building block. It's also a way to eliminate certain things out of your solution set and say, okay, only these things will work and these will not work. And I know that. So in the future, I need to focus on a different approach or, reflect in a different way. So I think every type of failure exists in an organization, and you have to, A, train your people, B, allow them to ask questions, give them a sense of dignity. If an organization allows you to ask questions openly and to admit to your failures openly, if you're scared to admit to a failure, or you're never going to learn because you're going to try and hide it, you're going to try and cover up, and there's never going to be. So I failed at something, maybe there are 10 other people in the next 2 years who'll try the same thing, but because I was too scared to talk about it or admit to it, nobody has learned from it. So always learn from your failures. And again, I'm not saying I'm a saint. I lose my temper as much as somebody else would. But I always try to stay calm and say, okay, what could we have done differently? What can we do differently? How can we recover from this? And of course, it depends on the type of work you're doing. I wouldn't say this to a cardiac surgeon, for instance, because failure in their case is truly life or death. So, also depend, but typically we're talking about corporates, we're talking about the corporate world as such. And I think in these places, the earlier we teach people that it's okay to ask questions, it's okay to admit that something went wrong and you couldn't deal with it, and and your boss is somebody you can go to and say, look, I couldn't do it this way, what can I do? How can I do it? And the boss helps them come up with a solution. The boss shows them how to problem solve, how to recover from that kind of mistake. And that is something that they can build on. And then that gives them confidence, that gives them the comfort and the expertise in their job so that they can, the next time, not make the same mistake. So I guess that's some of the ideas I have.
That's a great approach for the mistakes. I think it's the first time that I hear it. It's like clearing the path for others, because when you make mistakes, then that's already tried way. So you know that you don't have to go that way. So it's a nice way to put it, that you are helping others by making failures, by testing the ways. And the more we test, the more we fail, the clearer the path it is for the next generations or for the people after us. So thank you for that analogy. I think that's something very valuable already. And all the things that you said, I mean, just putting all this into context, it can help already people in their leadership journey. Thank you so much for raising awareness about a supportive environment for leaders and to create it. I believe it's top to bottom, right? The approach it's top down, right? What we need to take care, right?
Yes, definitely. It has to start from the top. You have to, this is one of the things, Leaderonomics, when we are doing our learning programs, a lot of times we'll bring in successful leaders to come and share with maybe junior managers or middle managers and say, come and talk about your journey. And we always encourage those senior successful leaders to talk about the failures in their life. So, it's very easy to come and say, oh, look, I'm the CEO of so and so, or the MD of so and I've made it and I'm so successful. But along my journey, I also failed. I also made mistakes and I had to recover from those mistakes. And when they share that, because it's so hard when you're a first-time manager and you meet somebody so, impressive, and you say, oh my God, like this man has, or this woman has this perfect life and they've, done everything well in their life. But actually they haven't. They've had their failures. They've had their moments of, depression, despair, making mistakes, thinking that they're never going to come back from that. And when they share that, that's a very powerful message that failure is, it happens, for various reasons it happens. And what you need to do is learn from it and move on from it. If you keep going back to that and say, oh, if I had done this, or if I had done that, it's like, what can I do now? What can I do next? And how can I learn and improve from this? So I think that's very important.
And back to the managerial styles, when you chose this title for managerial styles, give space for failure. But managerial styles, do you think they are inherited? Do you think they are written in stone, or someone can change their managerial style from being, like we call it, a dinosaur, being so direct and being one-sided and not listening to others, into something new, into something more about people development or coach, as you said?
Mm-hmm. I definitely think so. I mean, honestly, Andrea, this is something we do as an organization, because we deal with, we do training programs, learning programs, and some of the things we do with our, our cohorts or the people who learn with us, we try and explain to them, and we try to teach them the fact that everybody is different. So I could be a manager who's very authoritative, and I believe that I tell you, you're my, subordinate, you have to do what I tell you to do. But if you were to bring in, if you were to understand that subordinate's style of, their personality style, or you understand that there are certain things that motivate them. Maybe some people don't like to be micromanaged, other people want more direction, and you tailor your approach or your communication a little bit. I'm not saying you change it completely, but you understand that people are different and different people respond to different cues. You will discover that suddenly your team is responding better, performing better, much more motivated. And we've seen this happen. We do this with cohorts, and so many senior managers who've had people reporting to them for years will come back and say, oh, I never imagined, or I never thought that, I treated everyone in my team exactly the same. I said, do this, do this, do this. And now suddenly I've realized that I actually need to listen to them. I need to understand what drives them and perhaps tailor my messaging. So I think people can learn. They definitely can learn. I think it's more a lack of awareness rather than, it's probably just a style they were used to from the start and they've never known any differently. But if you show them that there is a different way, there is something called, leadership, situational leadership, or leadership based on people's personality styles. If you do that, if you show it to them, most people have an open mind. And why would they not have an open mind? Because suddenly all my people issues reduce, because I suddenly realized, wow, this person in my team that I always struggled with, suddenly I can reach out to them. They're listening to me because I'm using a different approach, which I never thought of doing before and didn't know I could do before. And now suddenly all my people challenges have come down, so it makes their life easier. So definitely it's a win-win, right? You're motivating your team more, you're reducing the stress on yourself, and that works. So I think people definitely can learn. It's just a question of showing it to them the right way, showing it to them in a way that connects with them. They understand that, yes, this is how people are different, and this is how I need to work. So managerial styles can definitely be changed, can definitely be taught. We do a lot of that kind of stuff with the managers we work with, and we call it situational leadership. You have to see the context, the situation, the person. Again, a little more effort, but the more you practice, the more it becomes part of your persona, and before you know it, you've moved from being a very authoritative manager to somebody who's very able to work with different types of people and motivate them.
I have two comments coming in, so I will just bring them up because I think it's also important to include the viewers. So Jack is asking, what if the senior managers is much younger than the employee, meaning age difference? Would they give respect to the age factor, or how does it work? What is your experience?
I think it works. I mean, because at the end of the day, age is not the important factor here. What's important is the knowledge, the ability, and the experience. And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, that sometimes there will be a clash of personalities, because the younger manager will say, oh, this person just wants to do things the old way. The older person will say, oh, this young fellow doesn't know anything, or this young girl doesn't know anything, she's coming and giving me instructions. But I think if you do it respectfully, if you deal with each other respectfully, if you understand that both managing, coaching, mentoring, everything can be a two-way street, I think it can definitely work. And it does work. I mean, I've had experiences where I've met people who've said, wow, I've never met a woman manager before. I've never worked with a woman manager before. And I was like, okay, good for you. But, now you have to. So you have to learn how to deal with it. And I think as long as you stay respectful of each other and listen to each other actively, without making assumptions. A lot of times we make a lot of assumptions because somebody's from a particular age group or a particular gender or a particular culture, and you say, oh, they must be like this. Don't do that. Don't go in with assumptions. Keep an open mind, and that will help you to work better with everybody.
Thank you so much. I hope it helps, Jack. And then we have Alchan here, who is asking, do you think a buddy system between managers, supervisors with employees will eliminate failures or mistakes?
I think eliminating failure would be a very high task. That is what we aim to do and we hope to do. But I think a buddy system works. I think if managers and supervisors mentor the people under them, they sort of teach them by experience, teach them by shadowing different ways. I think it gives a lot of exposure to younger people, or to younger employees or older employees, whoever you have reporting to you. And I think it works. It works, but then it has to be done very intentionally. There has to be, can't just be that, oh, you're buddies and now go and be buddies, because you have to give them a little bit of structure or a little bit of direction, saying, okay, this is what is expected. If you're a buddy for so-and-so, this is what you need to do for them. This is what you need to sort of work on with them, or there has to be an outcome expected. It's not just that, oh, we hang out and have coffee together every day and we're buddies. Because if the purpose of being buddies is to eliminate mistakes or to reduce mistakes, then there has to be a give and take of information, a give and take of maybe work or functional knowledge, and that would then help. So you have to do it very intentionally.
And what's your take on the future of leadership? What do you think? Where is it going to? With all this digital coming up, with all the life and work integration, with different styles, with different, I would say, platforms that people have to lead from or lead through. What do you see? What's the future? How do you see the future of leadership?
I think as leaders, we have to adapt to that. And adapting to that means, if I am not able to meet somebody from my team physically, face to face, then I have to figure out a way to build a connection with them. I have to figure out a way to bond with them and to have them feel committed to the organization and to whatever work they're doing. Because digitization or being on a digital platform can create distance. And if you don't already know that person, if this is the first time you interact or every time you interact is only virtual, then you have to make that extra effort to get to know the people. And I think leadership more and more than the results, more than the profits and everything, it's about how are you managing your talent, because there is definitely a war for talent out there, and people are not going to stay with companies that they don't feel connected to, and the connection more often than not comes because of the leaders around them, right? It's I can feel very proud to work for a certain organization, but then if I don't feel that I don't feel bonded to the people inside, if I don't feel that I have a connection or a stake in this organization, and I'm not talking shares or whatever, I'm talking a personal human stake, then it's going to be very hard. So leaders have to figure out how are they going to connect with each other, how are they going to connect with their teams. When the pandemic happened, one of the things that Leaderonomics was doing was we would do daily catch-ups with every single member. So every team would do a morning and an evening session, 10 minutes in the morning, maybe half an hour in the evening, but you meet every single day because people were not meeting physically. And we were like, there is no way that people are going to survive this and we are going to survive this if we don't keep the bond going, because it's very, very important for people to feel connected. And the connection comes through relationships, not through shares and, salary certificates and whatever. Sure, those are important.
And whichever channel it works, right? If it's digital, it's digital. If it's in person, it's in person. It's just that we have to make it work. That's what is counting at the end. Thank you so much for the share, Rashmi. Thank you also that you have been part of the first Women Startup competition with us back in the first week of the summit. It has been an amazing journey, and you are with us already for 3 weeks. Thank you for your support, and I wish you a beautiful, beautiful evening with your family.
Thank you so much. And I hope you get a break soon as well.
Yes, dinner time for me too.
All right. Thank you so much for everything that you
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rashmi. Bye. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. So before we go off for the break, just don't forget, tonight we have other amazing conversations coming up. So after the break at 7:30 p.m. Malaysia time, we will have Judith with us, and Judith will be talking about amplifying your amplifying your magic, amplifying your impact. And then we will have also Ashley with us, and then Carl is coming with diversity and equity and vulnerability and leadership. And we have also Jürgen with us from Germany, and we are closing the day with a panel discussion about the future of leadership. So stay tuned. We are coming back. Have a little break, have a little water, walk around, and have your dinner, and see you back again around 7:30 at the 3rd Global Empowerment Summit. Thank you guys, and have an amazing evening. See you very soon.